All right, the gameplay's going. So, hey, you guys know what that all means, right? Everybody in the chat, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Xbox Roundtable podcast. I'm Invader, and hey, it is great to be back. This is show number 256 to be exact, the first show of 2023. How exciting, right? We took the last few weeks off, and now we're pretty well rested and back in action. I mean, I know Centurion was hogging the eggnog to himself over the past couple of weeks. Wouldn't share either way. But I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Centurion. Hey, I was having a good time too. Just to be honest, I was kicking back with a few little aperitifs myself. But nonetheless, guys, it's great to be back and talk some games. And we did have some news over the past week, and there was a few things to discuss. Some updates to the legal fight between Microsoft and the FTC. The saga continues, so to speak. Also, Stalker 2 has gotten a new trailer. We'll talk about that sucker because, hey, a lot of people want to talk about that game. And what the heck is going on with this rumored Xbox show? Will we get one at all at this point? Well, hey, you know what, guys? We will dive into all those things very, very soon. But first, what I need to do is introduce all the fantastic guys on the panel tonight, starting off with Eric Shockley. Buddy, Happy New Year. How you been?
Pretty good. Been getting finally back into some gaming. Started some Persona 5 Royale finally on Game Pass. Unfortunately, they don't have I thought for sure they'd have like the Series X, because I guess the other two that are coming to Game Pass probably aren't going to have a specific Series X version. But I guess Persona 5 Royale does, but the one in Game Pass is technically the Xbox One version. Not a big deal. The only real difference is I think the menus are like 30 frames, so there's not much, but it's not a game that you'd really like give two shits one way or the other. But it's just like, huh. But I started that and got back into some Ori and the Will of the Wisp. I
Oh,
think I
yeah.
was like I'm pretty sure I was well over halfway into that game when I think I got stuck somewhere, and then I think something else like came out around the time. Oh yeah, I think it was when Final Fantasy VII first dropped the remake, so I jumped over to that after I got stuck a little bit halfway. But I got through wherever I was, and then so I'm trying to knock that one out, and then about a few hours in, about to take down the first palace in the Persona. So, but yeah, glad to get back to gaming after the holidays. So, but ready to get into these topics.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Yeah, I got into some gaming too. No word of a lie. I played all the way through and beat High on Life, and I gotta say, some really interesting impressions from that game. Enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. I thoroughly enjoyed High on Life, and I would recommend it to anybody looking for a really fun, quirky shooter. Moving on down here, Centurion Pal. Hey, happy New Year to you in the desert. How you been?
Happy New Year. First show of 2023. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is going to be an absolute fun time. Yes, definitely had a good holiday. Definitely, I wouldn't say on Christmas. Yeah, I did have a few shots of something called Screwball. Do you guys even have that down there, up there?
Oh yes, yeah, we got Screwball.
Okay, yeah, it was my first. I didn't even know about it, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, what the hell is this? Anyways, but man, been a good 2 weeks off. When it comes to podcasting, just hung out with the family, mainly my wife. Been playing a lot of games, like you mentioned, High on Life. Rolled the credits on that. Rolled the credits on, uh, what is it, Outer Worlds and all the DLC that they had to offer. Um, uh, Gonna go down the retro road. I thought of Shockley when I got this game. I'm gonna check out the original Final Fantasy VII before I play the Final Fantasy VII remake. I know there's gonna be a night and day difference, but it's more like I'm just wanting to compare the stories. But right now I have discovered a new crack of a game style that I never thought that I would enjoy, and that's Marvel Midnight Suns.
Oh,
I do not know what who said what.
I want it. I want to get it. It looks so good.
I'm completely mind blown. My mother-in-law bought it for me for her Christmas, and I was like, man, I really hope that this game, because I knew about the card-based strategy, and I had played strategy-based games before, but never card-based. And this game has been a lot of fun for me. I've been having a good time just playing the side missions and doing the combat and getting used to it. And it's definitely got me ready for basically playing the old school Final Fantasy game where it's turn-based strategy. I'm gonna be up front. Yeah, it is nothing to write home about when it comes to graphics, but there's a decent enough story there. I'm enjoying the game loop. I'm enjoying the combat. No, it is not the best thing since sliced bread, but I have been, at least for me, playing a lot of different games, and this game is so different from what I'm used to playing. I think that's why I'm just enjoying it, because it's just nice to be playing something totally different out of left field from what you're used to, and I'm having a really good time.
all right. Hey, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, I've been seeing people post Midnight Suns, and looks pretty cool. I don't know if I'd pick it up just because I got a mountain of games to climb through, and I've in a way I've made a New Year's resolution that I'm gonna try and go through the backlog. I know, guys, I've been saying that, but I'm definitely gonna try.
Good luck.
With the exception of Atomic Heart coming soon.
Well, I'm trying to follow that same resolution, but now I've got Atomic Heart, Hogwarts Legacy, and all these other games coming out. And I was trying to beat games out of my backlog before they came out. And then obviously somebody drops Midnight Suns in my lap. So there went that idea.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's nice. That's a nice gift. So kudos to the, you said your mother-in-law, right? Or
right.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome that she thought of you that way. Like that's a good gift for you. So very cool. And who else do we got here? Crusader, pal. Buddy,
Hey,
I know you.
Good?
I know you're aching a bit, but otherwise, how you doing?
I'm good. So for those of you who don't follow me on the Twitterverse, I started a new job this past week. And before that, I had 2 weeks off. So like in between our last show and this show, I had like 2.5 weeks off, and I played a very, I would say it's not like a large amount quantitative of the individual titles that I played, but I played a lot of video games. I started and finished The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt Complete Edition. I played the Diablo 3 Eternal Collection, and I've started the Dragon Age games. I've beaten Dragon Age 1 and 2 with all of their DLCs, and I started Inquisition this afternoon.
Wow.
I am on an RPG like tear right now. Dragon Age games, they're like the flavor of BioWare I never stepped into, right? I love them. They're great. Everyone should go and play them.
Interesting.
Pretty
I
sure-
Never played a Dragon Age game before? Sorry.
Nope.
to interrupt. Which
Nope.
one are you playing? The first
I
one?
finished. No, I already finished Origins. I finished Origins on the 1st of the year. It was technically my first game I beat this year. And I played Awakening, the DLC, the like extended story DLC for it, and Witch Hunt. I beat Dragon Age 2 and its DLCs this morning.
Okay,
and I've
now
started
you're going
Inquisition
on
today.
Inquisition.
Yeah.
Like, I've played all three of them, and I would definitely say if you're a Mass Effect fan and you enjoy the fantasy side of RPGs, like dragons and swords and castles and all that shit, then definitely Dragon's Age is the fantasy side of what
Yeah.
Mass Effect was.
I had never played them, and I'd never played The Witcher, and so like that was really fun. I have played Diablo, the Diablo 3 before. I actually play it quite competitively on PC when the seasons come out. But I had won a gift card on Xbox, and the Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 together were $20, and that was how much the gift card was for, so I picked them up. So, but yeah, no, it's been It's been an actual tear, grinding out these RPGs, and I'm loving them.
Dude, to try to grind out an RPG, that's like a freaking.
In a week, in 8 days, it took me 8 days to beat The Witcher 3, and I must have played 11 hours a day because I was on vacation, no work. I just played The Witcher, woke up, played it, took breaks to eat, and kept playing it. Because I haven't had a vacation like that in years.
Well, I mean, I guess if you had nothing else to do and you just really wanted to treat yourself to some R&R, then that's perfect.
That is what I wanted to do. But it is disgusting how many hours I put into that in 8 days. It was like a third to 40% of the time of those days.
I did notice quick resumes at Godsend for Dragon Age. Because how long it takes to load into your... Oh, except Origins.
Origins has a memory leak issue. It's on every platform.
Oh, gotcha.
And with quick resume, since you're never closing the game, it gets really bad, and it would take a minute for cutscenes to start, to trigger.
Oh, okay.
Or for like items to drop on the ground. So I would have to quit out of it there. Dragon Age 2, great. It was absolutely fantastic in it. Except it did have a weird bug where it didn't understand time, like the time jump between quick resuming. So my save file has 100 hours on it. Which that was the only bug I encountered, was I have 100 hours on my save that I did not play it for 100 hours. Because it would be like every time I would come back. Yeah, it'd be like every time I come back from the quick resume, it would be like my last save was like 20 hours. This save was 28 hours, right? Just because I had it quick resumed overnight. It was really, really funny. But yeah, no. And quick resume has been great in Inquisition.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I never jumped on the Dragon Age games personally, but hey, if it's anything like Mass Effect with how deep they are, then honestly, that's great. I never got a chance to get into them, but they always seem pretty cool, and I like fantasy
so much
stuff.
To play during that, like when Dragon Age was dropping out, that there's so many games like I missed because I'd be playing Dead Space or the millions of other games, especially if you're on like Gears and Halo competitively. And then in between that, it's like, oh yeah, I hear about all these other games I never got to play now, like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, which I kind of knew about, but I just never had the time around to play because I was playing something else. So.
Yeah, well, as soon as you mentioned Halo and Gears, honestly, I devoted a lot of time to replaying the campaigns multiple times, multiple difficulties, plus the just the multiplayer. Multiplayer was awesome in both. I mean, I was more so Halo, but still, like, I was just addicted. So lots and lots of hours. I would need to see the statistics on that. Oh, it would not look good. Just so you guys know, Timmy is supposed to be showing up, but we'll keep track on that. And MLD's taking the night off. He's out at a comedy club, so I hope he's enjoying that. But before we begin, guys, just a reminder to check us out on a wide variety of other platforms. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Rumble, and plenty of others, as you know. I definitely try to let everybody know that we're elsewhere, but if you're interested, check the description for all of them. They're all listed down below, and I highly suggest that you follow us on those platforms. So, guys, let's kick things into gear and just get the ball rolling here and get into the continuous Microsoft and FTC drama. Recently, there was a pre-trial hearing between the two, and it sounds like Microsoft, well, initially that they were going to put up a fight. I think they still are. It's just interesting, some of the stuff that's been going on. Originally claiming that the FTC's structure and in-house administrative court goes against the U.S. Constitution. I believe it's the separation of powers and due process of the Fifth Amendment. I'm not from the States, but I mean, that I've been reading up a bit on it, and that's the gist of it from my end. Well, Microsoft have now backtracked its statements. Maybe they found their statements to be a bit targeted at the FTC and the courts, but especially since this is going to trial. But again, just some rather interesting stuff. Crusader, but I'll hit you up first on this. What do you make of these latest updates here? Because to me, it seems like Microsoft and Activision got maybe a little too carried away with some of their wording, suggesting, like, just, they're kind of just a little going after the FTC a little too much. But hey, I would love to hear your take. What do you think?
So they are currently betting right now on a couple cases that are before the Supreme Court. I think it's like Axon versus the United States or something like that. Um, Essentially, they're arguing that the administrative court, since the judges aren't appointed by Congress, it's technically not a
They're
true
not
court.
neutral.
Well, not only that they're not neutral, it's not a true court, and it doesn't abide by because there's no strict appeals process that's laid out and defined with it that's the same as our current, like, the federal structure. The argument that I think it's Axon. I don't totally remember the exact name of the court case.
Axion. You're right. It's Axion.
It's Axion. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
that takes place in March.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be ruled on by the summer by the Supreme Court. They're presenting in March, correct?
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
I think
so we'll hear
the
about
timetable's like March, April, and then they should have
We'll hear
something
about it in
like
June,
by
July.
May or June.
So typically, major cases that are heard in the spring, you don't hear about them until June. So it'll be June. And that's the argument that's being made there. It was a lot of lawyers' opinions that Microsoft went in on that too strong because their case essentially would highly depend on the outcome of that case. So, and also Microsoft is what was originally arguing it slightly differently than Axion was arguing it. So it would not have necessarily applied to them. So they've retracted that more or less, not because they necessarily do or don't believe it or don't want to use it to their advantage in this case, but they don't want to be locked into a strategy as hard as they initially had locked themselves into. And that's basically all this is. They're taking out the wording, and I don't think it's because they were being they're not taking it out because they were being inflammatory. They're taking it out because it's their wording was too different from Axion, and it's too dependent on that Axion case being a success. And they likely had legal counsel say that, hey, we probably should change this because there's a chance that they don't rule in favor there. And the whole part about due process in this case is that Axion's arguing because they've had stuff like within the administrative court with the FTC since 2017, and they're arguing that that's not due process because in any other, if it had gone to the federal courts, this would have been decided by now, long ago.
Right.
Now that still takes time, right? That's not like, oh, it happens instantly. That's still a year and a half process, but it's not a from 2017 until 2022 process, right? Like it's like having any case go before a court is a long scale, but it's how long is acceptable, and they're arguing that it's not acceptable. And the reason why Microsoft wants to go to the federal court is that they have a stronger chance to win in federal court, much stronger, much stronger. And that's also why Microsoft has signaled during this pre-trial that and this wasn't covered in our notes, but I'll explain it here for anyone on the panel who didn't see this. It was reported by MLex, which is it's a subscription. It's an online reporting website that covers these like legal cases and things like that. And you have to have a subscription to read it. I have a source that I trust to relay the information from it. It was reported that during the trial, Microsoft basically told the FTC that if they don't file an injunction in federal court, they will close. They'll close the deal, as so long as the other regions have closed it. Basically, because they don't view the FTC's administrative court process as true litigation, because it's not within the true court system. That they'll abide by the administrative court, and they will go to every administrative court meeting that they have to, and should in the end they have to roll back the acquisition, they would, though it becomes a different can of worms with that kind of stuff. But what they're basically saying is file an injunction or we close. And if an injunction's filed, then it goes to the federal court system, and Microsoft has a higher chance of winning and a higher chance of actually getting out of it much sooner, like within 2023. I'm not saying the first half of 2023. They'd have a chance of getting this completely finalized in the court system in the United States by December. It would be really big for them. Because the FTC stuff could go on forever if the FTC does not back out. And they also backed out of their terms about the unconstitutionality of it on the same day that it was reported that the CMA was moving their date forward, but they would have some initial findings and how they specifically specified remedies. So it does seem like the CMA may say that there are problems with this deal, but there are going to be remedies for for those problems, based on just how and that would explain why they're extending it, in my opinion, because they're giving Microsoft time to negotiate remedies. Does that make sense? They already know that there's going to need to be remedies made, and the CMA most likely believes that there are acceptable remedies that can be made, right? So you delay your date for your final say on it into the future so that you can be prepared to negotiate those remedies, and so that everything can be done in a timely manner for both them and the businesses. That way everything can get closed properly, right? And so you handle that now, as opposed to screwing up everyone's timetables by being rigid and not moving your final date. To me, that's what it signals. I actually expect to see the CMA say, hey, we have some problems with this deal, but the problems aren't a deal breaker. Which is really big also, that they would change their stance on the constitutionality of it, because it means one of two things. It means either they aren't confident in that argument, or they are very confident they don't need that argument. And we also saw the EU say that they didn't weigh in on, they were not publicly weighing in on their stance on the deal, but they were weighing in on the truthfulness versus the truthfulness of Microsoft portion of the FTC's argument. So I do believe that Microsoft sees, at least with the CMA and the EU, a way out. And if both of them agree, and they have all of the minor countries, because several minor countries have approved it. Serbia has, Brazil has, Saudi Arabia has.
Yeah, it seems to be slowly more and more, If
they basically get the rest of the world, specifically the big two European powers, the regulatory powers, to agree to it, then it really makes the FTC's argument hard, because the rest of the world didn't find a competitive problem with it, and they would have to say that they'd have to explain how it is non-competitive in the United States, not just non-competitive in general, right? Because right now they don't really have to argue that it's non-competitive in the United States, right? Because that's assumed if the entire thing is non-competitive in general on a global scale. But they don't need to argue specific demographics to the United States in this exact case, just because of the argument they're making. But if everywhere else in the world basically says it's fine, then they have to adapt. The FTC would have to adapt their argument to be more defined, because Microsoft now has, quote, evidence. It's not like DNA evidence, right? But it's all of these other regulatory bodies said we're fine. So how is it not fine? Because it has to be a United States specific issue. So how is it not fine in the United States? And that's what you end up with. And then the second thing was Microsoft formally recognized the ZeniMax union. For anyone who didn't know, ZeniMax is still an entity under Microsoft. For anyone confused, it's it is a subsidiary of Xbox. Yeah. And then within that subsidiary are Bethesda Softworks, and then which is the publishing unit under it, and then all of the studios are under ZeniMax, under Xbox. Company nesting is strange, but all of the ZeniMax studios, not just online studios, that's been a mistake I've seen online. All of the QA workers across ZeniMax Media have unionized. I believe it's 300 workers have unionized.
It is. That's correct.
It is Microsoft's first union in general, and it's the largest North American union for gaming now. It's actually, I think, the largest North American
What's interesting
big
too?
tech union.
What's interesting too, Crusader, is that I've seen some chatter from like Activision developers and studios, and they seem really interested in Xbox just for the fact that they've been open to the unions, at least seeing all the them form under ZeniMax and Bethesda and whatnot.
See, Microsoft's in a unique position here where accepting unions makes this deal go through, but also if they show that they're accepting unions and things like that, they can be an edge in policy making within the United States, within the legislative branch. They have done it before. They have helped like co-author bills about like fair digital marketplaces and like that and stuff like that, because they stand themselves apart from Apple and Google, because everything except for Xbox under Microsoft has an open store policy. Xbox is the only thing that doesn't have an open store policy, and I would actually bet that if it really came down to it, they would put an open store policy on Xbox, and that is basically anyone can develop freely and release however they choose on the platform. They don't have to abide by the Windows Store, for example. On your PC, you don't have to abide by the Windows Store, right? And then they have a lot of policies set in place for the Windows Store for about how they take revenue, and like most apps are exempt from revenue take now, and I believe games on the Windows Store are only 12% take. I know it's still 30% on Xbox itself, and they argue Xbox is different because it's specialized hardware that they sell at a loss to the consumer, and they make it back with their 30% take. So they structure that entirely differently. And they argue that they have a reason that it's their only real hardware that they sell at a loss, because it's more about getting the software in people's hands. But they tried to structure to purport themselves in a way ever since the early 2000s, when they had the regulators down their throat because they were doing things that should have had regulators down their throat. Ever since then, they have tried to make themselves look like the puppy dog of big business, where because of their size, they can purport themselves in such a way that they can take losses in individual areas in order to literally shape laws and policies at least in the United States. And that allows them to, in other places, make that money back, almost, right? Or to have like goodwill, and it attracts more employees or better employees, or it attracts more customers and things like that, or more software developers to sell content through them. And it almost appears that they are shaping up to do this in the tech industry, even beyond gaming, because if you follow like unionization attempts in big tech and even just big business in the United States, everyone and their mother is fighting unions except for Microsoft. Microsoft is really the only one at present day not really fighting unionization efforts. Amazon tries to squash them. Apple tries to squash them. Starbucks has been notorious for trying to squash them. But Microsoft, it's reported they didn't even send out. They held their promise to the CWA in that they wouldn't even send out anti-union anything. They would act completely neutral. They wouldn't. They of course they're not pushing for these people to unionize. Because like they still don't really want the unions. Like no company really wants unions to exist under them, but they've positioned themselves in such a way that they're also not doing anything to stop the unions now, and that sets them apart from not just the other gaming companies or things like that, but it sets them apart from Apple, Amazon, Google, the other big tech giants, and it gives them some leeway within basically these regulators and things like that. Now, at present day, the FTC doesn't really give a damn. But there are some in Congress who applaud the efforts. There are the other unions that are applauding the efforts and writing letters on their behalf and things like that. And so it's not just it's not just it's not just because of the Activision Blizzard deal, though that's the biggest reason on the list of reasons. And they've been doing things like this before too. They restructured their entire policy about stores in order to act differently, to align themselves opposite Google and Apple. Right? They did that during the pandemic. I wouldn't be shocked to hear more of the studios form unions under Xbox. More of the gaming studios. I don't know how this will affect Microsoft at large. I would actually bet that you will hear more unions forming under their studios now that the studios know that there won't be repercussions. The employees won't face any form of repercussion. That's illegal, but that doesn't stop big business from pushing out repercussions on employees who are trying to.
But the timing of it, I mean, it looks good on it looks good on Microsoft.
Was imagine that there's a scale, right? And because this has been a long time coming. There have been several instances of Apple being fined and things like that for their anti-union policies, and we've seen that the unions are coming in big tech. They're happening. There's stories about it every few weeks to months, right? That a new Apple store has unionized and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would not be. Microsoft is essentially positioning themselves ahead of it, and they are using specifically their gaming division, which is one of the hotbeds of unionization in big tech. And they're saying, they're positioning themselves against their other big tech companies. And they'll allow whatever forms. They won't encourage it. Well, I mean, who knows? They may have encouraged the ZeniMax Online stuff a little bit behind the scenes just to have it happen. That's big brain conspiracy, but at this point, it is a very good publicity for them in this case for everything that's good, what they're trying to do. Activision Blizzard is almost certainly the thing that tipped the scale in favor of allowing these things, right? But Microsoft for the last 20 years has always positioned themselves apart from their apart from the other big tech companies in doing things like this, in order to further and further and further and further distance themselves from their antitrust past. And I would not be shocked to hear some of the studios at Xbox. I would assume to hear more of the QA workers.
Right.
Specifically, that would be the big place that I would expect to hear more of them, and maybe even under Microsoft proper, the QA departments, because they're the most mistreated tech employees globally.
Yeah.
Is QA, whether you're in gaming or not. But yeah, it's really interesting, and it is timed like this on purpose, right? They are allowing this now on purpose. It did tip the scales in the favor of it, but I don't expect them to flip-flop this position as some other people do after the deal is signed, specifically because this is where big tech is going. It just is. Just look at all the signs and everything that's happening. It's going to be very slow, but the industry is moving in this direction, just the tech industry in general. So,
well,
but yeah, that's the most interesting update in all of this, because it's actually whether or not the deal gets signed, it's something good that happened to ZeniMax employees.
Mm-hmm. No, and I agree. It's certainly interesting, and we'll see where that road takes us. Eric Shockley, brother, I know you've been listening in here. Do you have any thoughts with regards to the few things that we just brought up, whether it be Microsoft's approach with the FTC right now, and the court filings going on, or again even the unionizations with the 300 employees at ZeniMax? I mean, that's a pretty big thing, especially in the gaming industry right now. Got any thoughts on any of those?
Yeah, I did find it interesting this week where we kind of saw that. I don't know if it was from I think it was from either a representative from Microsoft or their legal team. How they're basically, if FTC still was or if the other regulators around the world, like CMA and EU, approved it, that they were just going to go through without the FTC's approval. Basically calling their bluff, like, okay, well, you're going to actually have to try to, sue us in federal court. Good luck with that. So either you're going to move that, to federal court, and you already have a weak case, so good luck on you on that. But also see if they're actually even going to bother wasting, taxpayer money to take something that, hey, the other one that you built your case on passed it. At that point, if that were to happen. So I got a kick out of that. Just, them kind of like, okay, cool. Well, we're going to move on. If anything, I think Microsoft would still go through if they could close the deal in like all countries except for it would suck for for the US, but if they get the rest of the world, I know a lot of times us here in America, we like to think we're like the center of the world with, like our sports and all that, but we're not. So if they could sell, they have,
America
mobile market.
Yeah.
If they have the mobile market locked up with, basically with King as a big player, all of Activision to all the rest of the world, like I'm sure they'd be okay with that. If the purchase wasn't really blocked, but like, basically you can't sell these games here in this part. So
it should be noted that nothing the FTC has done right now stops the deal from closing in North America. They would have to file an injunction.
Yeah, they can't stop it. They have to.
It would actually close at this point. Microsoft can close the deal at this point.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, if it got to that point and it got to federal court, and then for some miracle happens and they basically trying to block it, like say the federal court decision doesn't go Microsoft's way. I'm not obviously an expert on this, but I think if everybody else approves it, you're okay in those countries, just not.
Yes, but they'd have to divest. They'd have to divest the companies that are in North America. So they literally couldn't own the businesses that like actually have their physical location here.
Gotcha.
So that's on the federal court side, not the FTC side. If the federal court was to rule against them, they would have to divest anything that's within America.
And I think Microsoft's done built a good case of like, hey, we've got the other big, huge console player, probably the biggest right now, with Nintendo. They're on board, so they're okay with it. They're our direct competitor, even though if the FTC, in some weird way that's not untrue, tries to say, hey, they're not the same. No, they definitely are. They get a lot of some of the next gen games, but that can be solved by their next tablet, as we saw with the Switch was playing most, if not all, of the last gen games that it came out with, like against the Xbox One and the PS4, the consoles that were on the market when it released originally. So it was playing so it is a direct competitor. So any day now, if the Switch, whatever the Switch 2 or whatever it is, comes out, it's probably going to be playing at least capable on a Series S level to play some of these next gen games. If we just take what the Switch did, even though it might have been a lesser version, we saw what some of the Switch versions of games were, or they took longer to come out, like Ukulele. Still, you can't say it's not a direct competitor, because we literally saw it last generation where it was capable of playing the same tier of games. Witcher 3's out on it. I think that one, did that one come out on that 3, or no, that was an all next gen game, right? Or not next gen, but
the Witcher 3, it was not.
It wasn't on 360. So
it was released on the Switch.
So the Switch
later.
came out in that market, or that console generation, and it played one of the top. Obviously it was an earlier game, but it was still like considered only that generation type of game. So for them to just say it's like, oh, it's Nintendo doesn't count. Sure, they might be a little bit slower behind, or their generation, they might be milking it out a little bit longer. But make no mistake, when the next Switch drops, if it's capable to do something on the Series S level where it's playing, the newest or these next gen games that are all next gen only, like the Dead Space remake and all of that. So, so they kind of have a weak case on that scenario. So, at that point, I think it's the easy at this point. Microsoft has pretty easy case on their hands, because all they have to go on is like, hey, Sony's the only Sony's the only direct competitor here. They didn't approve it, so you can't put it through. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna damage Sony, and they're gonna not be able to survive any longer. So they obviously have a pretty weak case from what most of us have looked at it from our from where we stand. So at this point, it's hopefully we'll see here in May, or so. You said it was May that they're going to be. It was April. They pushed it back to, I think, for the EU or the CMA.
Yeah, they're all in
we'll see.
March, April now. Like, you'll hear stuff in there. We're going to hear something from the CMA in January, and the EU I think also has something to say in January.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Well, they can't keep stalling anyways. I think they just want to get. I think they want to get more out of the way than what the FTC does at this point. But
I think at that point, once that does happen, I think they would fold if they like, hey, okay, we're closing the deal this week. CMA, EU approved it. FTC is the only one that didn't. At that point, I'm assuming FTC will just fold, because they're literally their case is like they're going to present that to the federal court. Then they'll be like, okay, well, all these other regulators, approved it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Dragonheart Yobi here with the $10 super chat. Thanks, Yobi. Much appreciated. Hashtag peace, love, life. Keep up the good work, gents. Welcome back. My Sundays are dope again. Hey, brother, we love being back. It took a couple of weeks off, but hey, we're back into the slew of things, and we just can't wait to cover all the new trailers, again, just news in general, and game talk, and hey, just exciting hanging out with everybody in the chat, and thank you guys for participating the way that you do. You guys have awesome energy. We really appreciate you guys being here. And by the way, guys, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button and share this out. Let everybody know that we are live now, because hey, we would love to have more of you awesome people here. All right, let's see. Centurion Pal, I would love to know your thoughts on this. Obviously, Crusader and Shock have put in their 2 cents. You got any thoughts on whether it be the union recognition or even just the little tidbits of an update that we got here?
Well, if anybody's got sense, it's me, because it's the first few letters of my name. No.
50 Cent.
Right? 50 Cent, G-Unit. Anyways, so, oh man, to be honest, just to put it out there for everybody, I'm pretty sure we are all tired of talking FTC, CMAs, all different of the fucking alphabet gang.
TNA.
Oh, dude, fucking, who knew the gaming industry would be all of a sudden merger acquisition aficionados, people that like to just learn about it. This is just interesting time in gaming kind of thing, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that are just burned out on the whole alphabet gang thing. But so I could see why Microsoft is doing the unionization thing. Well, for starters, it's something that's needed to happen. There, like we were talking about it on Gaming Beyond the Box, there is a fine line between how unions can definitely bring value to an industry, but also sometimes unions, and I'm not saying the ones in gaming, I'm just saying unions as a whole, sometimes there has been situations that have become very complicated because of unions not exactly having their act together. But at the most part, unions are there to protect people, especially like with Crusader brought up with the QA testers, Activision doing some of the most egregious things in the world to QA testers, like, hey, sell your home and move out here and you'll have a job as a QA tester. And when you get there after selling your home and moving to a completely different state and uprooting your entire life, hey, you don't have a job anymore. Unions would protect would protect people in the industry from companies being able to do shit like that. And honestly, that's where you get these monsters like Bobby Kotick that has done some pretty egregious things to people because they have absolutely little to no protection in the industry. And unionizing would actually prevent companies like that from being able to do some of these things that we've heard about, especially coming out of Activision and other companies. Microsoft, I feel, is a good place for this to start because I'm not going to say that crunch does not take place. You're always expected to get the job done. You're always expected to do what you have to do for whatever you signed up for. Sometimes that may be involved in working more hours one day and having an extra day off the next week because of it. But with Microsoft is we've always seen, at least here in the past few years, they are willing to give developers the time they need to complete games without having to basically run the developer into the ground. So this is a policy that Microsoft has already been kind of following. So I could see them, being a little bit more accepting to these unions existing under their umbrella, but also it helps with the politics that are going on. When it comes to the FTC situation, I've said this since day one in January of last year, so it's been a year now, that that Microsoft went into this under the administration that was before the administration that the United States has now. I'm not going to mention presidential names and start that whole banter, but we're talking the administration that was under the previous regime before the one we have now would have been a lot more accepting to big business and allowing them to basically merge and expand. With this administration, I even said that we have a rogue with Chairman Khan over at the FTC because I really don't know where this is going to swing, and we'll let her track record speak for itself that this is honestly a BS political game for the chairman of the FTC. This isn't about stopping. This is more like establishing power for the FTC. And her ideals over at the FTC are just throw it at the wall and see what sticks. The chairman of the FTC currently has basically thrown numerous lawsuits, injunctions, and other things that she has had her power to throw at the wall. And a lot of them have been shot down in court. She has succeeded in some things, like we saw with the Epic Games and Fortnite, and having very, very malicious predatory practices towards charging people money, especially kids, and even collecting data on people that are under the age of 18. And yeah, that was a home run for her. But a lot of her lawsuits and injunctions have become very frivolous. Chairman Khan is actually very well known over at Congress for constantly going over there and begging the United States Congress for more money to continue to basically continue throwing these injunctions at companies to basically see where she can get an edge at being probably one of the most stonewalled FTC chairmans out there. And I just really feel that this was something that Microsoft probably didn't expect to happen. They probably figured their biggest hurdle was going to take place over in Europe and did not expect that the FTC was all of a sudden going to go on this political direction of we're fighting big tech. And it just really stinks that we're now seeing this entire thing unfold, and it's turned into the circus dramatic show everybody refers to it. I mean, this has gone way more dramatic than I ever thought. We've seen Sony with Jim Ryan act in a manner that we never thought. We've seen government regulated organizations from all across the world do things that are very questionable, like having employees talk about their PlayStation. It's honestly just been a shit show. And yeah. I could honestly see why Microsoft is taking the stance of file injunction against us, or we don't care what you have to say. We'll play along as much as possible. And that's part of why they're changing their wording in their documents, taking out the anti-constitutional stuff, even though it is, in my opinion, it is very interesting that the FTC has their own court with their own judge and they can do everything in house. How is that completely neutral? If you do read into like what Invader was saying, how the Fifth Amendment talks about you're allowed due process in front of a neutral party. A neutral party means that they have no stake in either side. They're not friends with Microsoft. They're not friends with the FTC. They're a complete neutral party to this whole thing, and they're willing to hear from everybody on their side of the story, when we all know from stuff we've seen that the FTC wouldn't even talk to Microsoft. That's a complete violation of due process. And so that, but obviously when in Rome, you got to play along kind of thing. Microsoft doesn't want to kind of rock the boat that hard. So I can see why they're retracting some of those statements, because I mean, you can't exactly walk into the courtroom with the middle finger up.
Yeah.
No, but you get it. But man, I just hope they get this whole situation really kind of resolved. At this point, it's going to be a different gaming industry going forward, no matter what. If Microsoft gets Activision, we're going to see a completely different Microsoft. We're going to see a completely different Activision. We're going to see a big stance taken for the tech industry with unionization of the employees. It's going to set the bar, the standard for allowing these unions to exist in big tech. And if Microsoft doesn't get Activision, obviously these unions already exist. That bar is already going to stay there for unions, but we're also probably going to see a completely different Microsoft at this point. That's going to be like gloves off when it comes to how these other organizations compete against them. Microsoft has always tried to do their own thing without having to, as Phil Spencer said, why does my success have to be based on another company's failure? Well, at this point, maybe they might just have to go down the road of where they become very aggressive and start causing other companies to fail just because of the fact of, some meddling caused them to fail in this Activision merger. I can't really go into it too much more because at this point, I mean, we're pretty much like alphabet souped out.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, I know, like the entire panel's. I don't want to say tired of talking about it, but it's just we want something a little more substantial to talk about.
Oh no, I totally agree. But I know why you bring it up, because I mean, like, look at what Destin Laguerre says. Some of his most popular videos deal with the Microsoft Activision merger. Everybody, this has become one hell of a spectator sport at this point. I mean, who's gonna say what next? What government agency is gonna you'd actually exactly, you don't know who's gonna say what next. Is it gonna be Sony, one of these agencies? Is it gonna be Microsoft? Is it gonna be Activision? I mean, it's completely turned into like a train wreck. You can't take your eyes away from it, but you definitely keep watching.
Oh no, it is interesting. It's just I mean, we're coming up to almost the year anniversary of the announcement. Like, I think a week away, if I'm not mistaken.
They planned for this to take place as far as June of this year, but with how everything's going, we're probably going to be at the end of 2023 if we're lucky. If this turns into even more of a crapshoot that it is, it could bleed over into 2024.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, again, we'll see what happens there. I'll admit I wasn't expecting it to go this far, especially, you look at what happened with, it's not a situation where it was like, the whole NVIDIA situation where they were buying like, one of their biggest competitors and they're going to own the market. I mean, there's so many big publishers out there that, I mean, there's still tons of competition.
That's where I agree with you. There's still tons of competition. I mean, it was completely alien to me that we saw that for whatever reason, I think the CMA and the FTC consider Nintendo as a non-competitor. How the fuck did they come to this conclusion?
Oh, I see TXR here. Sorry to interrupt you, Centurion. Hey, Timmy, what's up?
No, I'd love to hear his opinion on it.
Hey, guys, how you doing? Sorry for the lateness. Was at a party. Sorry, it's just at Long Beach, but I just came in. I just wanted to talk a little, give you guys an update, and see how everyone's doing.
Yeah, we're doing good, bud. We're doing good. Just getting over those holiday hangovers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I had a party, a cousin's birthday party to go to yesterday, and me and my family, cousins were here. Have another shot. Have another shot, and another shot. I was like,
Yeah.
come on, guys. I got to work in the morning. But just good times overall. It's still that time of the year, so.
Yeah. Well, as far as the ABK, I just can't. Like Centurion said, it could go a long time. It's going to be really a matter on CMA and EU. If they come in and they do remedies and they agree to decrees, I think Xbox is really ready to go forward with or without FTC. And they can do that because the injunction that FTC filed wasn't in federal court. It's just I think it's not a federal judge, and I don't think that FTC thinks that they have a case that would win in a federal court, and I think Microsoft knows that they'll win. So I think we're going to know a lot by January 18th because that's a day that I think that's been pointed out. To me personally, I think it's going to get done. I think that they're very confident, and I think EU and CMA they'll agree, but they'll agree with possible remedies. Obviously, the 10-year deal, some other stuff, I'm sure. But I do think that they're pretty confident it's going to close before July. Which was their date. It's been such a crazy rocky road. I think anything's possible. But the one thing is they're willing to fight this and go to the bitter end. So that shows they are confident, and it shows also they really are banking on this very highly. And at this point, they kind of put themselves in a position where they kind of need it because if they get the deal, I really do think that Xbox is going to be in super good shape. If they don't, it's back to square one, and they basically lost a lot of time, and they lost a lot of goodwill that they had built up because 2022 is kind of a year that they just said, let's, put the brakes on it and let's shut up and not say anything to ruin this. And it became all about the deal. And they kind of lost sight, I think, of the momentum that they had going, even though they're doing well sales wise. They're putting a lot of stock into this, rightfully so, but they're also kind of cutting their face despite cutting their nose despite their face. I think it's a statement or whatever the saying goes, where they didn't have a show at the Game Awards. I don't know where we are with here. I have some I do think that we're going to get some kind of concrete news next week or this week as far as the show and their plans, and I do think they're going to detail their plans fully for the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Which is needed, but I do think that I kind of feel that they're so embedded on this that I think that they'll at the end they'll get this done by July, and that's going to impact the holiday season. I do think that they are planning on having certain exclusives, certain catalogs for the holiday season, maybe Diablo 4 also holiday Game Pass. If not, then they have a plan B. And I know that for a fact because I had asked a specific question in regards to that when I had a chance with the right people. And I guess that's Hellblade. But I think if they had their druthers, they want this deal to go through and have an Activision blowout in the holiday, basically push their whole catalog throughout each and every week or whatever, or updates. Crash Bandicoot, Bandicoot, those games, the Call of Duty games, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, everything. So yeah, I do think though it's been we've talked about how annoying it's been. But I do think it's going to go through. I think they're going to get this with some concessions, and I do think that FTC does not want this to go to federal court because they will lose. They don't have the evidence, the numbers, and the facts of the matter do not back it up. To me, the FTC was just basically a big statement against big tech, and no matter what it was going to get blocked just for sheer optics. And basically Lena Khan and the FTC saying, hey, we're fighting big tech, we're fighting big deals, so you better think twice if you try to have these big mergers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and you know what? I definitely want to get into that showcase stuff that you brought up, Timmy. But before we do, anybody else have anything else to add to the Activision stuff, or can we move on? All right, guys, we will move on into the Xbox Showcase talk. And guys in the chat, if you're liking the show so far, please leave a like and sub to the channel if you're new. Plus, share it out. Again, we would love for more people to be here, but you guys are awesome in the chat. Yeah, Tim, just to kind of like extrapolate, like go into further detail what you were saying. A lot of people have been wondering, we've been hearing rumblings of the showcase. We're talking about it like a few weeks ago. And we start to hear, like, again, more trusted sources, such as, Jez has been talking about it. Jeff Grubb. Actually, Jeff Grubb has... he seems to have like some more details about it, but they're hearing things about it, and when these guys start talking about it, I become more sure of things.
Yeah.
No, Jez said it's closer to a direct than an E3 showcase.
Oh yeah, I'm not expecting anything like an E3. Like it's too early. Like, and I would expect more of like you said, a direct or like a PlayStation State of Play in a lot of ways. Just like like a 30-minute update kind of a thing. Like they'll show some.
Your expectations are where they should be. I forget which article I read, but some article freaking came out and said like they need to come out with some massive show that's bigger than Nintendo or Sony could ever do. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's only January.
Yeah.
They need to cover the first 6 months of the goddamn year.
Exactly. That's what their plan is. They're gonna have an extensive look into that. They're gonna highlight the Game Pass dealings, and they're gonna highlight Forza and Redfall, and they're gonna have something big for Starfield. So I don't know how they're gonna exactly do it, but I do think I would listen tomorrow. Look for an update, or if not tomorrow, next Monday. I think that the deadline for them to really announce this is gonna. I think it's gonna happen. I'd say more than likely gonna happen within the next week, definitely happening within the next 2 weeks, where we get this update. Aaron teased us. Basically, that was after because of criticism, rightfully so, about the Game Awards. They have so much stuff coming. They have Monster Rise the 20th, Atomic Heart in February, Wulong in March.
Well, keep in mind, Tim, we've been wondering when they're going to start talking about Ghostwire Tokyo, an Xbox version.
Yes. Well, I don't think they can talk about that until the year is up, but that's
close.
Definitely coming.
It's close. So
yeah. So that's definitely coming. Mark that down. It's crazy that we even have these games. Age of Empires 2, which I think they just announced. I do believe they have a multi-year deal with MLB for the show and Game Pass. So I think that could also be announced and dated, or just announced for Game Pass. Then they have the three big three, and we got some news on Redfall, and it was absolutely incredible. It finally detailed the game and put to bed a lot of misnomers that were going around about the game. Looks to be not only a big AAA, but it has id elements. The game of the shooting involved with it. I think that they're using part of their team. There's a big update on that with Game Informer. They have to date that game, and I would think that they're going to date it in May. Forza, which I've heard is the best looking game on consoles right now. When it comes out, it's going to pretty much wow people, just for the fact, too, that the Series S will have real in-game ray tracing, something that GT7 on the PS5 itself wasn't able to do. So some serious stuff on the next gen Forza is coming. You're going to get that, a date. And then we have the thing with Starfield, where that's going to be interesting because I do think that they're going to have a real big, what's it called? A deep dive on Starfield. And, they'll probably might get a date there. I mean, listen, we know video games, we know how it works. We were in the time, and they all look like they're hitting the 6 months where, we get dates, we get gameplay, we get deep dives, and we get the ready to go. A lot of times games are announced or dated a year before. So none of these games have dates. None of these games have really extended outlooks or showings. So, I'd say it's coming. The news is coming, at least the detail of the show. And then the show will, it's not going to be an E3. Like we've said, it's going to be more of an informational and, basically saying what we have, what we got going for the first 6 months. And we also have a lot for the next 6 months after that. But that will be covered at E3 or another date, blah, blah, blah. But I do think the time for excitement's coming for Xbox. It's been a long time coming. We always get, or I always get, mocked for saying just wait. But, we might be days away or a day away of finally getting some concrete news here. And I'd say stay tuned. I'd say at the very latest next week. And if they don't, I'd be very, very surprised. I mean, I'm hearing definitely a go, and we're going to hear about it soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're even there's some stuff that we might even see, like some smaller projects, some newer projects too. I know Jeff Grubb was detailing that he heard about maybe a small game from Tango Gameworks, one of their smaller projects, getting announced at whatever, again, this showcase, whatever it may be, is.
Right. Well, yeah, I definitely think, I think it's going to be real fun. I'm excited. And Xbox definitely has a little work to do here. They sat on their hands and they basically mailed it in because they were afraid to do anything. I don't know. They're very curious decisions. I do think that's one part because they have a $67 billion deal that's on the table. And you're not only dealing with Xbox, you're dealing with Microsoft. So that kind of makes Microsoft or Xbox in a unfamiliar position where they have to be very careful. They do not want to say anything or do anything that's going to possibly jeopardize or put the deal in a bad position, and they don't want to have to answer to Satya. So what do you have? Basically what they had. They were gun shy the whole year. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking about immediately after the deal was announced, they were gun shy. They were focused on optics. Phil was saying PlayStation's getting caught almost a week after the deal. Everyone tight-lipped, super anxiety about it. There was just not much. Yeah, sure, they had E3, but they, had that with the with the saying, oh well, we only have 12 months when they started that, which I hope to never do that again, because from the get-go people just kind of become a little disenchanted because they knew everything that was coming. There wasn't any big surprises, and that kind of fell flat. I think the E3 was okay. I thought it was good, but I don't like that 12-month format. They got to lose that. But it was a very a questionable year by them, and I do think, like I said, it was because Xbox itself has its parent company that wants this deal to go through. Satya wants a $67 billion deal, and they're worried about saying, we have too much, or they're worried about all types of stuff that's gonna look or hurt the deal, or possibly have FTC looking and block it, or these regulators. So they were in foreign territory. Nobody was in this territory where they've ever dealt with something, and I think they've learned a lot. But I do think 2022 for them, they've raised a lot of questions now, and they have to answer these questions. And the best way to answer these questions is tomorrow. Detail the hell out of these shows, get the hype train going, and then when these these shows show up, date these games, and be confident and get these games out.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a lot of chatter going on. Something about I guess it's a Starfield release date, March 23rd. I don't know. I guess there's a rumor going around about a possible release date. I don't know.
That's another one of them space days.
Oh, really?
There's like 1.5 billion like global holidays on. There's like every day of the year is a holiday, right? And I think March 23rd is a space day.
I mean, that would be a lot earlier than what I would be expecting personally. But then again, who knows? Who knows? Apparently, the game is in great shape. So
March 23rd was the launch of the first Gemini rocket. That was, I believe, NASA's. I forget exactly what it was. It was a special day with NASA.
Well, it depends what day they want to use, like as a, because like as you said, there's so many different ones. So I don't know. I know many of my friends, coworkers, they want to play this game. They want to book off like a week just to play this game. So I really hope that we do get some news about it. Like Crusader, honestly, like what have you been hearing about, if anything, about this supposed showcase? Are you with Tim that we might hear something soon?
So, if it's gonna be in January, we have to hear something soon, right? Now, they may try to do copycat work with Nintendo and PlayStation, where you announce the show like 3 days before the show happens, because that's how like every Nintendo Direct and State of Play has gone. The only PlayStation events that get announced before that are their like big showcases. And if this is to be Xbox's equivalent of a State of Play, then we may not hear about it until right before it. What's really interesting is this week seemed to be an off week for Microsoft, because we should have had the Game Pass announcement on Tuesday for January, right? And we didn't. And a couple of executives just kind of said the word soon, and that was it, right? My opinion on that is that Microsoft was still mostly out this week. Like Bungie didn't do their this week at Bungie over, it's technically Sony's side of that, the industry, but like a lot of studios aren't don't have their full staff back yet, because they're still on holiday and things like that. So I do think there's a chance we hear about it next week. If it is State of Play size, I don't know that we hear about it very quickly before it happens, personally, because that's just how these types of events go. But what is really interesting is that the game that Jeff Grubb mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a small game. He said it's a small Pentiment-sized game from a ZeniMax studio, and then he caved later in the show and said it was from Tango Gameworks. What's really interesting is back a little while ago, there was a trademark about 2 years ago for something called Hi-Fi Rush from ZeniMax. ZeniMax trademarked a logo called Hi-Fi Rush, and there was like a bunch of concept arts and things shown, and it seems to be like a weird multiplayer shooter type thing.
All right, that would be
And
interesting
there
for
was some like
Tango.
outsourcing stuff that said that, and so there was also a rumor that this Hi-Fi Rush game was coming out in 2023. So there's a chance that happens. I have to disagree with Tim on MLB The Show, only because MLB The Show is usually announced in March every year. Like, there's like a week in March that coincides with something that the MLB does, where they announce it every year.
I agree. Yeah, they might not have it, but I do
Yeah,
think
I
do
do think
they
I
have
agree
a
with you
deal.
that it'll be on Game Pass again this year.
Right.
I don't think that we'll hear about that in January.
Right. Agreed. That's a
Because
good
we're
point.
not gonna hear anything about MLB The Show on Game Pass until PlayStation's announced it, because PlayStation
Yeah.
will announce it in some way, shape, or form first. Whether it be on their socials like they usually do with MLB The Show, or not. But I don't see us hearing about that game in any context Xbox wise until we've heard about it in a context PlayStation wise.
They also have Minecraft Legends that they can
Yeah,
talk
Minecraft
about.
Legends, Aura History Untold, Age of Empires 2 might not actually even really show up because it has a date already. It's the only game dated from Microsoft so far. It comes out at the end of January.
What about the missing Forza Horizon DLC that we
There's
saw?
a Forza Horizon DLC that they said we'd
Yes.
hear about very early in the new year. We have
And
Motorsport,
just so you know, there was
Redfall. Oh, sorry.
not to interrupt, but you can follow up with your point. But I just wanted to say this on Forza. Forza Horizon Hot Wheels was on Game Pass, downloadable for a short amount of time, and then it was pulled back. So something to look at there. That could be another one.
They're releasing a Forza bundle of the Xbox Series X, which I suspect is their stealth way of actually increasing the price of the hardware without increasing the price of the hardware. I suspect they're going to move the route of you can only find bundles in stores. That was announced this week, I think. That Forza Premium Edition bundle for $560, which isn't bad, you know. If that's the way they are going to raise prices without actually raising the price, I don't care. Fine, whatever. Don't just blanket raise the price. Do something alongside raising the price. But that is, you know, we had that announcement. I don't know. We definitely hear the Game Pass news this week, for sure, because we've had a couple games that like launched into Game Pass last week that weren't really covered in a blog post because they haven't had the first blog post of January yet. Because January and December are always really weird because of the vacations and stuff like that. But I do expect that news next week, and I do expect whatever they do with this direct to cover Q1 and Q2 at a bare minimum. It may be all they cover in it, to be honest with you. We may not see anything for the rest of the
Which
year.
is fine.
Maybe a handful of things. And that you're right, that is fine. We just need to know what is coming soon. And they do have to market that stuff at some point. They can't just hide that stuff, you know, forever. They can't hide things that they're actually trying to release and sell from the all-seeing eye of regulators forever, you know. And in my opinion, they've waited too long on the stuff that is due out in 6 months. You don't want to show anything past like June. At this point, you're like, in my opinion, you're still fine to do that. But like, you know, we need to see some of this stuff. I'm happy that Redfall stuff looked or sounded great. We didn't get a new trailer, did we?
No.
Or like gameplay?
No.
It was a yeah. It sounded good. I'm surprised they compared it to Far Cry over Borderlands. I think they would have had a better the way they describe their open world, it actually sounds closer to Borderlands than Far Cry. Not, you know, but Borderlands I guess has like the looter element, and maybe they don't want to compare it directly to that. But
It's a Far Cry 2.
Oh, they said Far Cry 2? Okay.
Yeah. They didn't say the Far Cry series. They mentioned 2 specifically.
Okay. But yeah, I think we hear. I don't know if we hear about the showcase next week. I don't want to make a prediction on that. I'm not confident enough to make a prediction on that. I do think we hear just some news next week, though. And I think because there are a lot of partner games that they have to cover, right? Like
Right.
Erebon,
Right.
Flintlock, Arc 2.
Well, I heard the show was late January, so
Late January, that would make sense. And if it is late January, I don't know if we will hear about it or not. It really depends on.
I'd say definitely by next week you'd hear about it.
Well, it depends, right? Because if they're trying to copy if it is like a direct, right, and they're trying to copy the way the industry does it, they may not announce it until a couple days before. That being said, fans have basically been like, "Yo, what the fuck? Show us something." So
Right.
hopefully they do just announce it, and we can all.
People are right now at the chomping point. They're pissed. I mean,
Yeah.
I know through my Twitter, like I'm seeing a lot of people saying there's no communication. What the hell's going on? They definitely, in my opinion, they definitely have to fix some of the fallout from the GTAs, the Game Awards, where we were still questioning what the hell happened there. You know what I mean? Like, and there's many fans that are pissed about that. So
Right.
best way to shut people up is just say, hey, we got this coming, we'll see you there, and that'll definitely get the talk to when these games are going to get dated. Otherwise, you just have these people that some who are being genuinely genuine about it, but others that are just trolling, saying
Yeah.
the obvious bullshit.
I suspect we also get a few cool Game Pass announcements. Just some random.
I mean, they are stacked
stuff.
with Game Pass.
So here's the thing, right? Like half of the stuff that is scheduled for this year coming into Game Pass would have been paid with last year's Microsoft budget. Does that make sense? Like, there's a bunch of stuff that would the big one that's coming out in February. Atomic Heart was supposed to launch in 2022.
That's
right. On
Right.
Microsoft's 2022 budget. That's
Right.
maybe not paid already, but the funds have been allocated for it on
Mm.
last year's budget.
Well, make no mistake, that's
on
a
budget
big
already.
game. Like, make no
And
mistake.
and so there are going to be a bunch of there's this year is going to feel really weird compared to years that came before and even years after, because so many games in 2022 in general in the industry were delayed, and as a result of that, on the Game Pass side, a lot of business deals Microsoft made and allocated for with their budget in one area have been moved into a bunch of separate quarters and things like that, and that's going to result in them because they're not going to stop spending. Does that make sense? Like, they're not going to change their budget because of their deals getting delayed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to. Now, they may utilize that budget in different ways. They may form less deals this year because they already have a bunch, but they may invest in higher costed deals and things like that. I think I don't put too much faith in the rumors that Special Nick brings about. I love him, but anyone who says anything to him, he'll pass it off as a rumor that he's heard. He's right a lot of the time. He's not right a lot of the time. He said some stuff about Shin Megami Tensei coming to
I saw that.
to the consoles, the Shin Megami Tensei 3, 4, and 5. And I mean, that would fit what Microsoft's been doing in getting big Japanese franchises on the console, right? And that's also Atlas, who's just bringing Persona right now. I don't know how much faith I put into that rumor being said on the Xbox Era podcast, but that could be something, right? Because that's the kind of deal that I would expect that could be announced at like a direct like this, if that makes sense. And I would expect to hear about I would expect almost no personally, this is my prediction, that it'll be almost all content that's coming into Game Pass in this direct. Right? It's not going to be quite the same as one of the Xbox summer showcases where they have a bunch of games that are like from like EA or like Ubisoft with like the Assassin's Creeds and the Battlefields and the stuff like that, where they have the marketing for it. Now they may show Diablo because they want to own that company, and so they have the marketing for it, and they may just utilize that marketing for it. But I expect more likely than not, almost everything will be Game Pass related at this direct style event.
All right.
That's my only prediction about the event, is that it would be mostly Game Pass related, and the next 6 to 9 months of content being shown.
Okay. Now,
It's a couple new things. I would expect a couple new things because they have to show something new in addition to updates on stuff.
that's right. Now, Eric Shockley, buddy, I know you've been listening in here. What do you think about again, this whole situation with, the supposed Xbox showcase that's rumored? I know we touched on it a bit a couple of weeks ago. Do you agree with like what Crusader and Tim are saying with what we'll be seeing? Because again, like judging from a bunch of people in the know, journalists and so on, there's going to be something coming. Do you think we'll maybe see an announcement over the next week, like Tim is saying? Do you like what could you imagine seeing from like an Xbox small showcase? Shockley, you there, pal?
Oh, sorry, I was I was muted on my app and not my headset.
That's...
My bad. I think for sure we're gonna see, depending on when they have it, because obviously we'll have Persona drop, both 3 and 4 dropping here in the next week or so. So if it's a little bit further out, probably like February or so, or a little bit after January here, they're probably gonna for sure show like the Wolong Dynasty, because we really didn't see much, if any, gameplay in that trailer. So I'm sure, since Microsoft gave them that bag, their Team Ninja, they're also, or Koei Tecmo, is going to be using that also to promote it, since it is a new IP. So I think they're definitely going to want Microsoft to like show that off, as well as they're going to want to do the same and treat it like, even though it's multi-plat going into Game Pass day one, they kind of want to sell it like, okay, this is like our, release, this is our show, like, or our game, basically, even though it's not exclusive at all. So I think for sure we'll get that, especially since Team Ninja has been absent from Xbox for quite a bit, I think since like the 360. So definitely be showing that for sure. Probably, yeah, I think like others had pointed out, probably either like DLC for Forza Horizon, and then hopefully a quick snippet for Forza, although I could see that just being more E3 and then it coming out in the later half like it normally does. But otherwise, yeah, for sure, probably an update on Redfall with a release date, and probably a deeper, in-depth gameplay. We've seen some of it, but we've yet to kind of see how it all connects. We've just kind of seen like, okay, here's this mission where they're kind of like, starting, or like just in the middle of, and you're just going from this point. We still don't have a full, I think, understanding of the game, or at least I did not read that quote on the Far Cry part. But maybe we'll get, at least maybe that was described, but maybe we'll hopefully get more of a visual, a complete visual show to that, versus like the small like slivers, like where they're already in the attic, fighting an enemy. And then Starfield probably get a more in-depth one, whereas the last one was kind of like still a teaser of like, here's this snippet, and jump to this and jump to that. So I think that'll be more closer to maybe how they showed off Fallout 4 originally back at E3, where it's just more of like a in-depth, okay, you're following this character, this player, and just show you like, okay, what you're doing on the ground and less like jumping around everywhere. And then I think, is Atomic Heart supposed to come out in the beginning of this year?
End of
Or
February.
First half? Oh, okay. I can see that being shown off since we haven't seen. I don't think we ever really saw. I think that at least the last thing I ever saw that was.
Oh no, there's
when they
been
did
there's
the,
been gameplay updates. Yeah.
Oh, okay. At least from like Microsoft showing, I think the last one was like that trailer with like all the music, stylized music going behind it. So I could see that being shown off, and if we get any update on, hopefully Stalker. So that's what I'm hoping for as far as in this, hopefully like quick direct. Well, not quick. Hopefully it's like a good, 30 minutes, still a shorter show, or within an hour still be a short kind of like. If they pack all that with all the things we kind of just mentioned, that's going to be just going from game to game and get right to the point. So hopefully that's what we get, something along those lines, unless streamers or people talking over it.
Oh, don't say that. That would be hell. No, that would be a nightmare PR campaign for them. No, actually, though,
as much as I want to hear from Todd, I don't really, other than unless he's directly, I don't need him being interviewed by like a YouTube star. Well, no, just have him directly talk to us about his game, like he did like Fallout 4, like he does in general. So.
Yeah, just have a separate show for Starfield all on its own. You can talk about it a bit.
Talk directly to the camera what their game is. Don't do this whole thing where they're asking, I don't need them to tell me what's, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I mean, those are some good choices there, Eric. How about you, Centurion? Do you agree with what these guys are saying about the showcase? Like, can you they have been a little quiet. I know it's been the new year, but they've been pretty mum, like, for the past, month or so, even with the Game Awards, right? We're kind of wondering. Do you agree with like Tim and Crusader that, we might be starting to hearing something, maybe even tomorrow, right? How many times has a Monday come along and they just like drop like some big news? And if so, like, what would you like to see from them?
All right, it's kind of like a two-part statement because of some of the stuff that TimDog has said. Hang on, let me grab my can of gas. So I agree with TimDog. It really stinks that because of this whole ABK deal that we've seen a very, mum's the word, reserved, gun-shy Microsoft compared to what we've seen since the beginning of the generation, where they hit the ground running, they came in strong, and then they decided to swoop in and try to purchase ABK with like little to no contingency plan on how we're going to make face during this time. It's like it happens so quickly. They just basically hurried up and put their hat in the ring and forgot that they have a consumer base that they got to take care of. I hope all the rumors are true that we are going to get this event. There is a lot of questions that people would love answered, including myself, being an Xbox fan. But I'm a more understanding Xbox fan, and it's not because I'm obsessed with the brand and I'm just brainless. I'll get into that in a second. It's more like I want to know about Starfield. Yes, I'm invested in wanting to play that game. It'd be great to at least know something outside of the first half of 2023. That's really the only information that I've seen that's credible, and that was off of a QA section on a Bethesda website. You guys knew about that, right?
Yes.
I know Crusader keeps up with that, but how about the other guys here?
What was it again? Sorry.
About the actual release window for Starfield actually came from Bethesda on the QA website for Starfield.
Oh,
well, they reiterated it. I wouldn't say it came from that.
Well, they reiterated.
Yeah.
Well, actually, everybody thought it'd be first quarter, and now all of a sudden it's like first half of 2023. And
no,
I'm like, well, that leaves
their official delay thing said explicitly within the first half. That's the only words we've ever gotten from them before. Was back in May of last year. They said within the first half.
at least it's good to see that Bethesda doubled down on that
Yeah.
statement. It very recently doubled down on that
Yes.
because I guess they just reopened. I guess what it was is if you go to the Bethesda website and you go to the QA section, there is a drop down on literally a link. It says, when is Starfield coming out? You click on it, little thing drops down, and it says first half of 2023. And I guess this was recently added within like, what was it, the last week or two?
Yeah, I
Yes,
did
it was
see
this.
that.
It was this last week.
So at least that's some like recent news from a credible source because it's Bethesda. They're the ones making the damn game. But like, I do want to know more about Redfall. I'm looking forward to Redfall. It's good to see that they had that great big article that came out that really outlined a lot of stuff. They're getting people hyped for the game. I guess that's supposedly supposed to come out here soon as well. We have a lot of things to look forward to. Forza, God, there's been so many damn games mentioned this whole conversation. Point is, there's a lot of games that we would love to have at least some info on and when they're going to be released. But that being said, let's just point out that this event, whatever event takes place, is going to be aimed towards Game Pass because these games are supposed to come in Game Pass. But this is where the two part where I grab my can of gas and say, for those who think that third-party content in Game Pass is basically shit, doesn't matter, it gives no value to Game Pass, you're absolutely fucking fooling yourself. Because if you want to know what really sets the industry, it's not hardcore gamers, it's not dedicated gamers, it's the people that have not drawn their line in the sand and picked a brand. And the reason why I say that is you could sit there and go, fuck Microsoft or Sony, whatever brand that you hate the most, whatever. I have thousands of dollars wrapped up in a game library on Xbox. You think I'm just going to fucking throw in the towel and say, yep, moving to Sony. Yep, there goes all my money. I'm never going to come back to Xbox again. Come on. That's stupid. That's a very, very, very funny argument to have. You are not going to walk away from your library. Microsoft knows this. You have no way of transferring it. You are invested in the ecosystem. The consumer base that they're more concerned about, whether you like it or not, are people that are not that heavily invested in the ecosystem. The people that are just getting into console gaming. People that haven't really stuck their flag in the sand saying, this is where I'm going to build my game library. Game Pass gives value to those people because they can try these third-party games for $15 a month, however much, whatever subscription service they get, what level. For $10 to $15 a month, they can play these third-party games like High on Life.
Is this a response to me saying third-party wouldn't be there?
No, this is
okay, because I totally meant non-Game Pass third-party.
No, this has nothing to do with you. This is a video I saw on YouTube. I'll send it to you. It was an absolute freaking... This person came out and said that any third-party deal that Microsoft uses to gain leverage on Game Pass isn't enough. They got to have those first-party titles. Well, you know what the funny part is? The casual consumer only cares about the name of the game. They don't give a shit from the studio. So whether it's from a third-party studio or a first-party studio, if that game interests them, they are going to Game Pass if it's said it's going to be there. No gamer is going to sit there and be like, well, I'd rather pay $70 for that game rather than $15. I know there is hardcore people out there, but I'm talking the casual consumer base that, dude, come on. A carton of eggs is going for how much right now? Like, seriously, it's going for half the price of a month of Game Pass. There is people out there that are having money problems right now that would love to keep up with gaming, and every title Microsoft puts into Game Pass, whether it's an indie game up to a AAA third-party studio or even first-party studio, gives the service value, and it keeps people coming to the ecosystem. And to act like that doesn't have any merit whatsoever, you are fooling yourself. And that is where, yes, at any event that they are going to have, there is going to be stuff about Game Pass there, about the third-party deals that they're going to put in there, the perks that you get for being an Ultimate Game Pass member. Game Pass is going to be a big leader in the gaming industry right now, as long as inflation is out of control and people are worried about their freaking pocketbooks.
No, well said. Well said, honestly. Well, yeah, Game Pass definitely covers a lot of avenues for people, and like you said, where a lot of people are penny pinching at the moment, and
So,
just
like, I see the chat. I brought up the chat for this whole thing. If you guys want to know, when I am at work doing my job, I don't listen to Xbox eccentric podcasts. One of the main podcasts I listen to is predominantly PC. I don't even play on the frickin' PC. All of these guys, though, have Game Pass subscriptions because they go into the ecosystem and they try the games in Game Pass that interest them, and they leave the ecosystem. They talk about how they own no games on Xbox, but Game Pass keeps them going into the ecosystem.
Well said. Well, again, in any case, since you're in, we'll see what the next week or so has in store. And honestly, I really hope that they announce something soon because, I would like to see them start talking about some of these games. We're already, into the new year now. And I know that they have all these games lined up and they got to start talking about them really soon. So, we'll see what we have in store for us, guys. But I think on that note, fellas, we'll move into our third and final topic of the night. And we kind of touched on it a bit, but, how do I put it? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I almost lost what game I was talking about. We'll talk a little bit about Stalker 2. That's it, Stalker 2. The hotly anticipated game coming to the Xbox ecosystem we had talked about with Game Pass. And because of the unfortunate events going on, with the Ukraine and Russia and whatnot, the team behind the game had to relocate to Prague, and they've been working away on the game despite all the difficulties and stress. Well, they've released a new trailer for Stalker 2, a mix of gameplay, in-game cutscenes, so on, showing different enemy engagements, more environments. Centurion, my friend, I have an idea of the kind of tastes in gaming you like by now, and I think that this one seems up your alley. Not to assume anything. It's just I know we have similar tastes, so I think that you've had this one on your radar. What did you think of the latest trailer for Stalker 2? I thought it was pretty good.
What are you talking about? I absolutely hate first-person shooters. No, I'm joking.
Well, hey, that's me assuming.
No, I mean, all right, I don't know nothing about the first Stalker game. My introduction to Stalker is seeing what has been advertised, the articles I read, and the stuff I hear about the original game, and about how it was it's more like a cult classic. I guess it released with a lot of bugs and weird stuff, and it has become something that people have really loved, and they have been trying to get this sequel out now, I think for 12 years?
It's been a while from what I'm to understand.
Yeah, it's studio closed and then reopened and closed and
yeah. I mean they have a very tumultuous, a very up and down roller coaster ride of a development experience from what I've seen and heard and read. And I mean this game looks actually beautiful in my opinion. The lighting effects, the lightning. The environments, I'm looking very forward to, because if I'm right, this game takes place around Pripyat, right?
Yes.
It is in Chernobyl. So they are using the appropriate, Ukrainian spellings and not the Russianized spellings.
Well, yeah, because
that's why it's Chernobyl and not Chernobyl, if anyone's curious. Well, that's more for the audience. I know you know.
No, yeah, okay. I was gonna say because I know there's especially with the war in Ukraine and all that whole situation, and also if you how one time the border was over here, the other time the border was over there, and that's where there's definitely a lot of heart put into this game from the developers because they are Ukrainian, they have a lot of knowledge, and I mean to really put this into perspective, when Chernobyl in real life blew up, we were getting radiation readings over here in the United States across the frickin' ocean. You could only
Yeah.
imagine what it was like to live in the Ukraine when you're like, oh, look, a gust of wind in our direction and we are fucked.
Well, Centurion, it's funny you mentioned that because you and I are the same age, but you were born earlier in the year. I was born. My birthday's in April, in case anybody doesn't know. And I know my parents, like 2 weeks later after I was born, the Chernobyl incident happened, right? And they were worried about, I guess the winds bringing over like the activity all the way to North America and whatnot, and yeah, it was a big thing back then.
It was a very big thing when it blew up, because it blew up. Like, there's a whole science behind it. Hydrogen gas built up in the reactor. It blew up. So my grandfather taught me all about nuclear physics and stuff like that. My grandfather was really invested in that weird stuff. So that's where I've learned a lot about it. I even love Chernobyl, learning about it. I mean, you guys want to see some scary stuff? Go back on YouTube and watch the videos taken in Chernobyl. The film grain isn't because of how old the footage is.
Yeah.
The film grain is because the camera lens is actually physically capturing the radiation in the air. There was so much radiation in the air that the camera lens was actually picking it up and giving it this really crazy film grain look. The firefighters that were there that day took all their clothes off and threw them in a pile on the ground. Those piles of clothes are still radioactive to this day. The cleanup crews were picking up chunks of radioactive plutonium off the roofs of the building to throw them back down into the reactor before they put it in the sarcophagus. So yeah, that is literally a hell situation. And for them, this happened in their own backyard. And I mean, there's a lot of heart that has come out of the developer that has made this game. I'm looking forward to playing it. I mean, the story looks really intriguing. The concept of the game, because I guess it's a very, very extreme survival shooter.
Yeah.
I guess there is going to be a lot of resource management, but it's very open. It's what they call non-linear. You're going to play the game, and as soon as you're dropped in this world, you can either start going for story quests or you can go do side missions. You don't really have any direction that you are forced to follow. But as we all see, they got moved to Prague. The developer has had a huge uphill battle, and I think Microsoft has given them a fair amount of money to keep this game in development, to keep it at least on track for being released. Like there was talks about it being, delayed indefinitely. Is it going to come out in 2024, 2025? The developers finally come out and shot down all that. They say they're on track for a 2023 release. And to really hammer that home, because I chatted with you today on this, Invader, the developer, one of the developers came out and said that there's actually not a PS5 version of the game in development, and this was in 2021. And as much as people want to say, well, that means that they could, let's look at the facts. They had a war breakout, which took over their development studio, and they had to uproot their development studio to a completely different country just to finish the version of the game they're working on now, which is Xbox and PC. Do you really think they have the time and money now to go back and decide to make a PS5 version of the game? I really think that if there was a PS5 version of the game in talks for the future, the situation with Russia and the Ukraine probably shut the door on that, purely because of that. Logistically now, it might be extremely difficult to do.
Yeah, it's because it was when it first got revealed, it talked about a 3-month exclusivity for the Xbox.
We saw that with the Epic versus Apple lawsuit. It was one of the things in the thing. It was specified as 3 months there.
Yeah, that's right. That's
where yeah.
But because of this, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I just the only thing I was gonna say, Tim, is that with the situation how it is, I can't see them working on a PlayStation port in the near future. Like to me, it's probably gonna be an Xbox ecosystem, like full on exclusive. But go ahead, Tim.
Listen, I don't want people to think we're trying to get an exclusive here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Listen,
yeah.
this is some serious stuff. They've actually lost developers in the war to death, fighting in the war.
Oh yeah, there's photos of these guys all
Yeah.
freaking fatigued out, standing next to freaking anti-aircraft mortars.
Well, again,
Yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't
a
a boast by any means. It's
Yeah.
just that
Right,
is a
exactly.
situation.
And I think it's an unfortunate circumstance. I do think that they probably would have wanted to make a PlayStation 5 and they might have plans after the fact, but when you're that, that worn out or strung out because of the situations and the circumstances that they've encountered, I do think that yeah, you're probably going to get an Xbox version, and I think that that's why they said it's exclusive in their PR for 2023, whenever it comes out, and then obviously the situation that's going on in Russia and in Ukraine is ongoing, can change. Hopefully, they can come to some type of agreement and end this war. That's another discussion, but who knows what the future holds? But I do think, yeah, I think relatively speaking, they probably are just trying their best to just get the one version done. Once they get the one version done, I'm hopefully. Listen, I've seen a lot of people say that they, want to support them by not getting in Game Pass and buying that. That's that's
doing
your
that.
option,
I'm personally doing that myself.
right? And that's an option that all of us have, and I might take them up on that. But they're going to get paid very well, regardless, and I hope the game gets the hit that it looks like, because I am very impressed by what I've seen. People talked about a downgrade, but whatever. I think it still looked very good. And
I didn't even see that. Who was
yeah,
saying
it's just
that?
some people saying the lighting effects, the lightning was downgraded from the original, showpiece. But listen, you always have a little bit of that. You take Redfall as an example. I don't think it's gonna look as crisp as the first. I think any game.
Remember Puddlegate?
Yeah, like most games always have, they have a little bit of more when they first show. They obviously, they're a showpiece, and they're always compared to that. But aside from that, yeah, I do think that it's an exclusive. I don't think it's going to be a 3 month exclusive. I do think it'll be longer than that, just because of just the way this is going. They've lost people. They're probably stretched out. But it could see itself in PlayStation 5. And honestly, I hope it becomes that popular where either Microsoft purchases them or, they get the PlayStation 5 and they absolutely kill it. It's with them. I think that we all have to, cut the bullshit console wars out. Don't even bring it up. Hope for the best for them and make them. They are they're a different case here. So even if they delayed the game to 2024, there's no complaining there. They're dealing with things that are way above anything that anybody. I mean, I can't even imagine. But I'm very impressed by their fortitude and the way they're going about it, and for the plain fact that they're actually still making the game. And no matter what, I'll be playing it and be supporting of them. Just like I said, it's just a matter of not about console wars and shit like that. But I do think, yeah, I think it'll probably be a late exclusive for Xbox for 2023, and maybe I do think that they probably do have some type of contract with PlayStation 5, but it's gonna obviously not fall in the time limits that they originally agreed to because of the unfortunate circumstances.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into this, right? Number one, we don't know if Microsoft maybe renegotiated a contract with them to funnel them some money because
Right.
Microsoft wants this game to come out, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, like Microsoft wants this game to release. It's a big game for their platform for at least a little while for Game Pass.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
it's a pretty big PC game too, right? So
Yeah, yeah, and so Microsoft could have renegotiated a deal with them to extend the period to make the period permanent. We don't know, right? That's something we don't know. And because we know they needed money to move the studio to the Czech Republic, and we know they're big. They want to have mod support, and they talked about wanting to have mod support on console. And the only console they're going to be able to have actual, real, big time mod support on is Xbox. PlayStation allows some things, like there is mod support for like Fallout and Skyrim on PlayStation, but they don't allow user created assets. You can only change things that can be like tweaked with that. You can only make things that could be made with in-game assets that exist within the creation engine already, or changing anything you could do with the creative engine without adding anything to it. And so, if they want to go big into mod support and they want to make that part of the identity, then they may never end up going to PlayStation to begin with. And that was something I said a long time ago. On the other hand, if this is that big and PlayStation wants this game to release on their platform, on the other hand, PlayStation could use their XDev, their independent studio groups, kind of like ID at Xbox, but a little bit more. They help them develop. They could use that combined with any number of the support studios that PlayStation owns, SAE Malaysia, the Visual Studios Group, SAE San Mateo. What is the new one that they bought? Valkyrie, I think is what it is. They helped with God of War. They could use any of those, and PlayStation on their end could assist the devs in developing it if they really wanted it. There's all kinds of factors that we don't know. I don't really care one way or another if it's exclusive or not. I do believe it'll be longer than 3 months, just because they internally won't have the resources unless this is a runaway success and they can license it out to an external studio to do it.
Just to clarify, I wasn't trying to make a console war statement.
Oh yeah,
I was just going off of like the conversation I see on social media. I'm with you. I would love to see the game go multi-plat, because that means that they're rebuilding.
Because I mean, and here's the thing: I don't really care. Everyone who knows me knows I don't really care about exclusivity. I care more about actually saving money personally. And in this case, I'm not even planning to save the money. I'm planning to give them the money, because from what we've seen from this studio, it looks incredible, and I'd like to straight up support them. And I'm not normally a big support the devs kind of guy. I buy everything like on sales. I use Game Pass. I use PS Plus. I'm not big into that. But this is a studio that genuinely, you look at them and you're like, okay, they kind of need the money, objectively. So if I can throw them a couple extra dollars in this trying time for them, I will. You know what I mean? They're in a different situation where it actually, I look at it and be like, yeah, do they have a collector's edition on their website?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Because if they released a collector's edition, I'd hop on that shit right away. The stuff looks cool enough, and I could get the Stalker dude as a statue. I'd put it with the rest of my gaming statues. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If they would do something with Limited Run or any of those companies that do the custom statues and editions and stuff, I'd be sick.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shockley, buddy. Yeah. No, sorry, just to interrupt. I was just curious because Shock is really looking forward to Stalker 2. Did you play the original Stalker, Eric?
No, but I definitely heard a ton about it back in the early 2000s, from a lot of PC gamers around that time. But yeah, no, I'm definitely intrigued with it from what they've shown, what we've kind of seen with that aesthetic. Even obviously graphically, that was the first thing that jumps out at you. Even when people try to downplay some of Xbox's first party, but you could even watch some of the streams from some even diehard Sony fans that thought obviously this might come, it's not a first party, so it's probably going to end up being multi-plat, but even they were like, okay, yeah, this looks really dope, graphically. So but yeah, I'm definitely excited, especially to see more. Hopefully we get more of an update of a release, obviously, since we were supposed to have this game at least last year or possibly before that. But yeah, unfortunately with the events that went on last year kind of delayed their game. I think probably had some stuff to do with like Atomic Heart getting, I'm sure that probably was messing up some of their timeline, and probably quite a few other devs that are in that area. I think there's actually quite a few other devs that are in like that area of the world. So that, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by it. Yeah, I wonder if there's. Yeah, I guess you would have to play the like first one on like PC. I don't think that's out on any other the old PC version. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. Definitely, I need to get into Metro since I own all of them now from past sales, especially with the new Xbox or the Series X updates. But I hear it's like similar because obviously some of those games got their ideas from like the first Stalker. But I hear this is not quite exactly like Metro in that sense, but I'm definitely intrigued to see more, especially with it coming to straight Game Pass. Definitely everyone should, and I'm sure will try it from, just from the look of it. So, but hopefully we'll hear more here soon, especially in one of these, hopefully directs will get here before E3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hope so too. I hope to hear more about it very soon. And I know they're targeting for this year, but just gotta be understanding of their circumstances, right? So, guys, any other comments about Stalker 2 before we guess no? Okay, guys, I think on that we'll start to close off the show. Gotta say, really good stuff tonight to kick off the new year, 2023, and we discussed a slew of things from more updates to the whole like circus surrounding Microsoft and the FTC, that saga, Stalker 2 that we just talked about, and the still yet rumored Xbox showcase, a little bit of Redfall talk, and more. But hey, thank you to everyone that joined us tonight, and if you like the chat, then please consider dropping a like, sharing out the show, and of course sub to the channel if you're new here, because we'd love to have you stick around. All right, without further delay, let's go to the outros, starting off with Eric Shockley. Buddy, hey, I loved your points tonight. Really good show. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNero on Twitter and EasyShock on Xbox Live. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Some good topics today. Hopefully we'll get some more updates here soon, like Tim was saying. But have a good night.
All right, well said there, Eric. Moving on down here, Centurion Pal. Hey, loved your stuff tonight too. Some really good chatter. Where can everybody follow you at?
Yeah, it was a great start off to the year. Great show, everybody. Thank you to everyone who tuned in the chat and listens after the show. For those interested in finding me, you can find me at Centurion1307, Xbox Live, Twitter, YouTube. You can also find me right here every Sunday night, and you can also find me on Gaming Beyond the Box every Sunday night. That show kicks off 2 hours before the start of this one, so I literally you get to listen to me for 4 hours if you're that psychotic.
Damn.
All right. I know, right?
No, that's good stuff. Love the chat on Gaming Beyond the Box. Love the crew there. Moving on down, TimDog. Hey, buddy. It was great to have you here. I know you came in a little later, but hey, love the dedication. And yeah, buddy, lots of energy. Well, I'm feeling like, I know we don't have an announcement yet, but like, Xbox fans, they want to hear some stuff about,
we want to hear some shit.
So, I hope it happens, but where can everybody find you?
Find me on Twitter and Xbox, XcloudTimdog. Just a little note, Jez says, give it a couple of days. Let's see. Maybe we are definitely getting close. Just saw him tweet that 53 minutes ago.
Yeah, I just saw that too. I was about to say something.
But other than that, I've been, listen, I sometimes I get a lot of shit for my gamer score, which is currently 70,000. And I kind of like, especially when I finish High on Life, I'm kind of like laughing because I play a lot of Maddens, and I looked at my Madden. I think the Madden 2020, I played seven days. 2021, another 6 days. So I'm like, you know what? I could be like, I want to be like one of these guys. And I went to Maka Guides, and I'm achievement hunting right now. And I hate to say this, if you want to upgrade your gamer score, you can literally upgrade your gamer score. I would say easily 30,000 points in 10 days. There's so many games out there that are just a joke. And I'm kind of achievement hunting right now. And, that could be addicting too. So that's what I've been playing. I finished High on Life. I loved it. I gave it an 8.5. I felt like really good pacing until the end, where some of those last things were just really like, what the hell? Like, I'm just walking around aimlessly. But very good game, very good humor. Hopefully, I think Xbox should lock that exclusive up. But yeah, I've been achievement hunting, and I have to give a shout out to Maka. He does it. There's nobody better if you want achievement hunter, in my opinion. He makes these how-to videos. In some games, you can get like literally 1,000 gamer points in 30 minutes. 1,000 gamer points in one was like 2 minutes. Some crazy stuff. But shout out to him. He does a great job. And keep your eyes open, guys. I think it's coming. We're gonna get a date soon enough. We're gonna get some information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right, Tim. Maka does put out some really awesome achievement guides. I know that's his thing, and he does a really good job of it. I also have achievement guides too, in case you're looking. So I'm in the middle of doing some High on Life ones. So check out my channel.
I didn't know that. You do that?
Yes, I do.
Wow, you do. Wow, I gotta take a look. I'm sorry, I never knew that about you.
Oh, it's all right. I wasn't sure if you knew. Yeah, no, just check out my channel, pal. It's obviously it's in all my description, so go for it. Invader Gaming, guys.
It's funny that people think like something under 100,000 is like not good.
Yeah,
it's
like
if you spend
100,000.
thousands, Destiny killed me because there's so many games I didn't get to play because of the whole Destiny grind back.
It's so funny. It seems like 100,000.
You're not gaining achievements at that point. You're just grinding for gear and new raids. So
yeah, I mean,
you're
literally,
playing a ton of video games, but you ain't getting any achievement score for it.
Dealer Gaming, he played. I think he has over 100,000, but he's played 57 days, I think, in NBA. Constantly playing video games, but doesn't always get the recognition that you should. A lot of times these games don't give the achievements. Destiny's one of them. But yeah, I do find it funny. 100,000 definitely seems to be the number to certify you as an Xbox true gamer.
Honestly, who cares? I
know.
Look on the PS3. That's what PS3 gamers were doing. They weren't playing, other than Call of Duty, they didn't have Halo and Gears that was at its top level multiplayer. They were jumping from game to game.
Right.
Because they didn't have first party multiplayer games on that level.
Very true.
Let's be real.
I have 2,500 hours in Destiny 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many games I just I'll get to that, but no, I have to grind for this. I have to get this, I have to complete the hard version of the raid.
Imagine leaving Destiny 2 couldn't be me, or the Destiny grind, it couldn't be me.
Oh. Yeah. Crazy. I know. Sometimes I just get lost in a game where it's just you know what? I just want to battle the crap out of the AI. How many times I did that with RTS games, like Dawn of War or whatever it may be, Command and Conquer. I would just sink all kinds of hours into that and not give a crap about the
heroes.
Yeah.
You can go 10 hours at a time playing Persona without any achievements being given to you.
And I heard there's a Company of Heroes 3, not to get off.
Yes, coming out this year.
And it's
very
coming
soon.
to consoles.
That's right.
It's coming to consoles.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I love the push with RTS coming to console. That's why I'm really curious about Age of Empires on console. Really curious about that.
Because they can kind of have bad control. They can have controller support, but have bad controller support because the consoles have mouse and keyboard support. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They can get away with it more because there is the option to play it with mouse and keyboard to just have a better experience. Yeah. But Did chat disconnect?
No,
No.
no.
No. That was me. I pressed mute by accident.
Oh.
But
I was worried. I was like, did we just lose Invader?
Yeah.
No, not this time. But no, I thought you had a really awesome show tonight, pal. Where can all these fine people follow you at?
Which one of us you talking to? I'm sorry.
You, pal.
Oh, you're talking to me? Yeah, you can find me on Twitter on Crusader3456, basically every social media platform, and all the gaming platforms. You can, if you search that, you should be able to find me. You'll see me playing a lot of RPGs as I wait for Cosmic Shake to release, the SpongeBob game.
All right, that's fine.
I think that's pretty awesome that you would even like say you'd want to play that game, because my wife is even looking forward to that one, dude. Like that's
I
awesome.
loved Battle for Bikini Bottom, and this is a spiritual successor to that.
That was
so I'm
actually
playing
a
it.
decent game.
Yeah,
Battle
I'm
for
playing
Bikini
it.
Bottom, yeah.
One of my very close friends in real life, we're both getting it on the same day, and we're gonna be playing it. Because like I don't know, with me, I'll play just about anything. I love just playing games, and like that has that nostalgia factor. So I will be playing that day one.
All right, just based off of that, I'm gonna order you a Peppa Pig game then.
Oh no, that's easy gamer score.
You said you'd play anything. Let's
That's
test
easy
this.
gamer score. That's fine.
I kid. But on that note, guys, as for myself, you guys can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. Again, I do reviews, achievement guides, all that fun stuff, gameplay, etc. So hey, come check me out. I've been doing, I've been working on some High on Life achievement guides. So sub for me if you're looking for those. But yeah, fun show tonight, guys. A great way to start off the new year, and we are looking forward to the next one. Hopefully, we see something from Xbox in the next couple of days. Later, everyone.